Welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're gearing up for your Class 9 Civics exam, you are exactly where you need to be. We're running an intensive prep session today, totally decoding Chapter 2 of your syllabus, the Salient Features of the Constitution, Part 1. Our ultimate goal? Maximizing those marks. We're going to strip away all the fluff and zero in on the core facts examiners literally love to test. So, let's dive right in.
Here's our roadmap. We're tackling 5 main topics today: citizenship and voting rights, the 6 fundamental rights, Article 32 and writs, restrictions and privacy, and finally, the 11 fundamental duties. Let's hit those high-yield exam-focused topics head-on.
Section 1. Citizenship and voting rights. So, who gets to participate? Let's find out exactly how we define citizenship in India.
Okay, major MCQ alert right out of the gate. India has single citizenship. What does that actually mean? Well, whether you're born in Punjab, Kerala, or Maharashtra, you are solely a citizen of India. You aren't a citizen of your specific state. This is a huge contrast to the USA, where you can actually hold dual citizenship, like being a citizen of New York State and an American citizen at the same time. India went with single citizenship to really promote fraternity and unity. Keep that distinction crystal clear for the test.
Now here's a concept that trips up so many students. Overseas Citizenship of India, or OCI, which came from a 2003 amendment. Examiners absolutely love to throw this in because OCI is commonly but totally incorrectly called dual citizenship. Let me be clear, OCI is not dual citizenship. Why? Because OCI holders simply cannot vote in India and they can't hold any constitutional office like president or Supreme Court judge. Sure, they get lifelong visas and financial parity, but no political rights, none.
Moving on to voting rights. 18. That is the absolute magic number for universal adult franchise in India. If you are a citizen 18 years of age or older, you have the fundamental right to vote, completely irrespective of caste, color, or religion. A super vital point for the exam, independent India replaced the old British communal electorate with a joint electorate system. This means voters in a constituency all vote for the same candidate together, which is meant to foster communal harmony.
Moving into Section 2, the 6 fundamental rights found in Part 3 of the Constitution. This is the heavyweight section that totally dominates the short and long answer questions.
You've got to note this crucial historical fact. Originally, the Constitution actually provided for 7 fundamental rights, but the right to property was removed from this list by the 44th Amendment Act back in 1978. It was downgraded to just a legal right. So that leaves us with the 6 fundamental rights we have today. Don't let a tricky true or false question catch you off guard on that timeline.
Under the right to equality, we hit Article 16. This deals with equality of opportunity in government jobs. But remember, the Constitution does allow for reservations to uplift certain communities. For case-based questions, you absolutely need to memorize these exact reservation percentages: 27% for other backward classes, 15% for scheduled castes, and 7.5% for scheduled tribes. If a government employment dispute pops up on the paper, these numbers are your ticket to full marks.
Next up is the right to freedom. Article 19 guarantees 6 basic freedoms: speech and expression, peaceful assembly, forming associations, moving freely, residing anywhere in the country, and practicing any profession. You gotta know all 6. Here's a pro tip though. You'll notice freedom of the press isn't explicitly on that list. Why? Because it doesn't need its own separate provision. It's completely implied under the broader freedom of speech and expression.
Still under the right to freedom, we have Article 22, which protects against arbitrary arrest. You definitely cannot confuse the 2 forms of arrest on the exam. Ordinary arrest means the police have to tell you why you're being arrested, and critically, they must present you before a magistrate within 24 hours. Preventive detention is a whole different ballgame. It allows the state to hold a person in custody for up to 3 months without a trial. It's used as a precautionary measure to prevent a future threat, not as a punishment for a past crime. Now let's look at the right against exploitation. The golden number here is 14. Article 24 strictly prohibits the employment of children below the age of 14 in factories, mines, or literally any other hazardous job. It also makes bonded labor entirely unlawful. It's a short, punchy article, making it a super common 2-mark question.
Okay, pop quiz time. Let's test a very likely case-based question you might see. Imagine this scenario on the paper. A minority linguistic group wants to set up a school teaching their own language. Which article protects this right? Take a second. Do we know it?
The correct answer is Article 30. Falling under cultural and educational rights,
Article 30 ensures minority communities can establish and administer their own educational institutions. Plus, it strictly prohibits the state from discriminating against these institutions when handing out government funds.
Moving on to Section 3, Article 32, and writs, also known as constitutional remedies. This gets heavily tested every single year without fail, so stay with me.
If you see the phrase heart and soul of the Constitution on the exam, immediately write down Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and Article 32. That right there is guaranteed exam gold. Why did he call it that? Well, rights are basically meaningless if you don't have a way to enforce them. Article 32 empowers citizens to go straight to the Supreme Court if their fundamental rights are violated, allowing the courts to issue formal written orders called writs.
You might want to jot these down. Matching these 5 specific writs to their literal meanings and use cases is a massive staple for those 5 to 6 mark long answer questions. Habeas corpus literally translates to have the body, and it protects against unlawful detention. Mandamus means we order, and it forces a public authority to do its duty. Then there's quo warranto, meaning by what order, which stops someone from wrongfully holding a public office.
Let's quickly zoom in on the 2 writs that seem to confuse students the most. Pay very close attention for your MCQs. Both of these are issued by a higher court down to a lower court. But a writ of prohibition is issued while proceedings are still happening to stop them because the lower court is stepping outside its jurisdiction. Certiorari, on the other hand, is issued after a lower court has already passed its order to quash it. So prohibition is before, certiorari is after.
All right. Section 4, Restrictions and Privacy. Because remember, fundamental rights aren't completely absolute.
The state can absolutely impose reasonable restrictions for the general welfare. Most notably, under Article 352, our fundamental rights can actually be temporarily suspended by the president during a declared national emergency. Beyond emergencies, specific laws like the Essential Services Maintenance Act, or ESMA, can restrict rights just to ensure public order. Like, for example, preventing essential health or transport workers from going on strike. Now here's a much more modern edition you've got to know. Lock in the specific date. On August 24, 2017, the Supreme Court declared the right to privacy a fundamental right. Interestingly, it doesn't have its own brand new article number. Instead, the court ruled it's naturally derived from Articles 14, 19, and 21. It protects personal choices and autonomy. But just like the rest, it's subject to reasonable restrictions to protect national security or prevent crime.
Finally, Section 5, the 11 Fundamental Duties, under Article 51A. We're wrapping up with the ultimate counterbalance to our rights, our responsibilities as citizens.
Look, rights and duties have to go hand in hand in our society. You really can't have one without the other. These duties weren't actually in the original Constitution. They were added way later by the 42nd Amendment Act in 1976 under Article 51A. There are 11 fundamental duties in total, including things like respecting the national flag, defending the country, protecting the natural environment, and safeguarding public property.
I know I just said there are 11 duties, but initially there were only 10. Pay special attention to that 11th duty, which was added much later by the 86th Amendment Act in 2002. This duty perfectly aligns with Article 21A, the right to education. It officially makes it a fundamental duty for parents or guardians to provide educational opportunities for their kids between the ages of 6 and 14.
As we wrap up this intensive explainer, I want you to ponder one final question based on everything we've just covered. If rights and duties truly go hand in hand, what happens to your civic duties when a national emergency temporarily suspends your fundamental rights? Think about that delicate balance between the immense power of the state and your own personal liberties. Review your notes, lock in those key articles, and you are absolutely going to ace this chapter. Thanks for hanging out, and happy studying.